नमः
ओम नमः शिवाय।
ॐ
ओम
सदाशिवसमारम्भाम्
सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
वन्दे
वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्
गुरुपरम्पराम्।
ॐ
ॐ
सहनाववतु
सहनावतु
भुनक्तु
सहनौ
सहनौ
भुनक्तु
सह
सह
वीर्यं
वीर्यम् करवावहै
यस्मिनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै।
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
विद्विषावहै।
शान्ति
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 शान्तिः।
शान्तिः।
हरि ओम्।
हरिः ओम्।
Okay, so we'll start with a brief idea of what we saw in the last class. We analyzed the Shanti mantra and saw that essentially it summarizes the core of all Vedanta, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. So that is the one of the very few Shanti mantras which actually convey a Vedantic message and are not a prayer. Then we talked about the first khanda, the Upadesha khanda, and we said that the teaching reveals Brahman and enjoys and the same prakriya, superimposition and negation. That is adhyaropa apavada is employed. And we said that to understand this prakriya, we have to understand three key ideas. One is Sat, that exists, that which exists all three times, that we have seen in Tattva. Then there is Asat, which is non-existent at all times. And there is Mithya, which is neither Sat nor Asat. Sat, Asat, Vilakshanam. It is dependent upon reality, it dependent upon Satyam. So the Mithya entities require a Satyam substratum, a Satyam Adhishthanam. Why? Because they exist because of that Adhishthanam. And they resolve back into it when they vanish. And that is why they have a dependent existence. Then we saw the word Adhyaropa, where we said that Shastras initially accept the existence of a world for the sake of teaching. So they accept plurality, they accept creation, they accept governing laws, all these things. And later on, as you progress, the apavada has to come in for advanced students, where the very existence of creation and the world is negated. Thus, adhyaropa means acceptance of the world provisionally as a teaching measure for beginners. Apavada means negation of the world for advanced students. Now we have to apply this threefold classification to the world. And so we said the world is not Satyam because Shruti later negates it. The world cannot be said to be Asat because Shruti accepts it initially. And therefore it has to fall in the third category, which is Mithya. What is not negated is what is I, the observer, the pure consciousness, the Sakshi. The first chapter of Upadesha Khanda, it presents the Adhyaropa and it presents three upasanas. Ashwa upasana, horse upasana, Agni upasana, and Prana upasana. And upasanas are of two types. Independent upasanas meant for specific results and Karmanga upasanas. Karmanga means a angam of a karma, part of a ritual. And that is subordinate to the karma. So in Karmanga upasana, the karma, the Vedic karma is the main ritual and actually gives the result. The upasana's function is only to enhance the results of the karma. Now the Ashwa upasana, the horse upasana, which we are going to see, is actually a karmanga upasana because it is part of the Ashwamedha Yajna. Now, Shastra says Ashwamedha Yajna can be done by only by Kshatriyas, right? So what if you are not a Kshatriya? Normally by Kshatriya kings. So what if you are not a Kshatriya king? That means you are not a adhikari for Ashwamedha Yajna. Now the question is if I am not an adhikari.
There is survival of the Jivatma after. Therefore, Veda also.
I have blocked somebody. I'm sorry, but that's sound was coming. Okay. So what if I am not a adhikari, but I still want to do the upasana so that I can get the benefit? So that is the question. That is where we stopped. And we saw that Veda offers a compromise. What is that? The phalam of the Ashwamedha Yajna can be attained by doing only the Ashwa Upasana. The Upasana alone can be done. The Yajna did not be done. And I'll repeat here, this is applicable only for a non-adhikari, only for a non-Kshatriya king, right? Because in the case of the Kshatriya, he has to do the Ashwamedha Yagya. But if you are not a adhikari, then Veda says that you can do the Ashwa Upasana. Only the horse meditation can be done. And then, in that case, for the non-adhikari, since he is not entitled to do the yajna, this Ashwa Upasana becomes a independent Upasana. Since he cannot do the karma, right? It is not because it is optional. It is because he is not entitled to do the Ashwamedha Yajna. Then he can do the Upasana as an independent Upasana. And here in this section, we are talking about that such a independent Ashwa Swatantra Upasana. Okay. So what possible benefit can you get from meditation upon a horse? Ashwa Upasana is nothing but meditation upon a horse. So what is the answer? You have to invoke the Virat Ishvara on the horse, on the Ashwa. And therefore the Ashwa Upasana actually becomes a Virat Upasana. And it's called a Ashwe Virat Upasana. Okay. There's one more complication. A horse is not available to everybody, right? So it's an expensive animal to maintain. So what if a poor Brahmana wants to do the Ashwa Virat Upasana? Ashwa is not there, right? So Anandagiri, who is one of the sub-commentators, he says, how do you do Ashwa Upasana when Ashwa itself is absent? Horse itself is absent. How can you do the horse Upasana? And Anandagiri gives a solution. He said, you consider yourself as the horse, right? The meditator should consider that he is the horse. It's a visualization. So Upasana, after all, so it's a visualization. The meditator should visualize himself as the horse. And when the various parts of the horse are mentioned, he should take it as corresponding to his own body parts. Thus, the topic of the first khanda is Ashwa Virat Upasana. Every part of the horse is taken as a part of Virat, right? And if you don't have a horse, then you are visualizing that you are the horse. So all your parts are taken as the part of the Virat Upasana. So you have to see the front portion, you have to see the back portion. When you visualize the whole horse, what happens? You are visualizing the whole Virat, the whole universe. And what is a phalam? This will be said later. It is the Hiranyagarbha Padaprapti. You will achieve Hiranyagarbha himself. Now remember one more thing. The phalam of the upasana is that you will achieve Hiranyagarbha itself. Hiranyagarbha Padam. That particular place itself you will achieve. But Hiranyagarbha Loka, which is Brahma Loka, also falls within the Vyakrata Prapancha, within the manifested universe. And therefore it is Mithya, and therefore it cannot give moksha. That we have to remember. No upasana can give moksha. What then is the phalam? The phalam is the expansion of mind. And that is the main purpose of the upasana. The expansion of mind is necessary because when it comes to jnana, you have to be able to accept that you are all pervading. For that, your mind needs to be expanded. And that stretching of the mind is one of the main phalams, main purposes of this Ashwa Virat Upasana. So with this, we'll come to Madhukhanda.
May I ask a question, please? Why only horse? Because there are so many other animals too.
That is because the Shastra says so.
Okay.
Okay. Now, we come to the first khanda. So, Atha Madhukhanda,
अथ मधुखण्डः
Pathamodhyaya,
प्रथमोऽध्यायः
Satamam Brahmanam,
प्रथमं ब्रह्मणम्
Ashwamedha Brahmana.
अश्वमेधब्रह्मणः
Now we are on the first mantra. 111. First chapter, first section, first mantra. So please unmute yourself. We will chant. Om Usha Vai Ashwasya Medasya Shiraha
ॐ
वै
उषावै
अश्वस्य
अश्वस्य
मेधस्य
मेधस्य
शिरः
शिरः
Suryasya Chakshuh
सूर्यस्य
सूर्यस्य
चक्षुः
चक्षुः
Vatah Prano
वातः
वातः
प्राणः
प्राणो
Vyatam Agnir Vaishvanaraha
व्याप्तम्
व्याप्तम्
अग्निर्वैश्वानरः
अग्निर्वैश्वानरः
Samvatsara Atma Ashwasya Medhasya
संवत्सर
संवत्सर
आत्मा
अश्वस्य
विश्वमेधस्य
मेधस्य
मेधस्य
Dhauh Prashtamantariksamudaram
द्यौः
पृष्ठम् अन्तरिक्षमुदरम्
अन्तरिक्षमुदरम्
पृथ्वी पाजस्यं दिशः
पृथिवी
पृथिवी
पादस्यं
पादस्यं दिशः
विषयः
पार्श्वे दिशः
पार्श्वे अवान्तरदिशः
दिशः पर्शवः
हर्षवः ऋतवोऽङ्गानि
पर्शवः ऋतवोऽङ्गानि
भोङ्गानि
मासाश्च अर्धमासाश्च
मासाश्च अर्धमासाश्च
पर्वाण्यहोरात्राणि प्रतिष्ठा
पर्वाणि अहोरात्राणि प्रतिष्ठः
नक्षत्राण्यस्थीनि नवो मांसानि
नक्षत्राण्यास्तीनि नवो मांसानि
ऊर्ध्वं सिकता सिन्धवो गुदा
उद्व्यसिक्तता सिन्धवो गुदा
यकृच्च क्लोबानश्च
यकृच्च कुमानश्च
औषधयश्च
पर्वतः
औषधयश्च
वनस्पतयश्च लोमानि
वनस्पतश्च लोमानि
बुध्यन् पूर्वार्ध्यो
उद्यन् पूर्वार्धाः
विमलोच्चन् जगनार्धो
निमलोचनार्धः
यद्विजृम्भते
यद्विजृम्भते
तद्विद्योतते
तद्विद्योतते
यद्विधूनुते
यद्विधूनते
तत्स्थनयति
तत्तनयति
यन्मेहति
यन्मे हति
तद्वर्षति
तद्वर्षति
भागे वास्य वाकः
वागे वास्य
वाकः
So as you can see, the entire Upanishad is prose. there are no mantras which are in what they call poetic form. Okay, chanda form. Now we are going to apply the same logic which we applied in Chandogya. We will, because of the length of the Upanishad, we are not going to individually look at individual words. So overall, we will talk about mantra. So here, this is the starting of the Ashwapasana, the horse meditation. And the horse, as we said, is the universe, right? Because the Virat is being invoked on the horse, which means the horse is to be seen as the universe. This is Upasana, that you have to meditate upon the horse as the universe. So it says Ushava. Usha is dawn, early morning. Ashwasya Medhasya Shiraha is the head of the sacred horse. So Medhya means sacred, purified. So Ashwasya Medhasya Shiraha, the sacred horse. Why is it sacred? Anything used in the yagya is purified and therefore becomes sacred. Suryascha Chakshuhu. You can understand the sun is the eye of the horse. Vataha Pranaha. The wind is the breath of the horse. Wind is the breath of the horse. Vyatam Agnir Vaishvanaraha. Vyatam means mouth. Agnir Vaishvanaraha is the Vaishvanara Agni, the sacred fire. The mouth of the horse is the sacred fire, the Vaishvanara Agni. Samvatsara Atma. The middle portion, Atma, Samvatsara is the year, Year. Ashwasya Medasya of the horse. Dhyav Prishtham. Dhyav Prishtham. Dhyav is the sky, is the heaven. Prishtham is the back. So the back of the horse is the heaven. Antaram, Antariksham, Udaram. Antariksham is the intermediate space between the heavens and the earth, which is called sky. Right? Antariksham, the sky, Udaram, is the stomach of the horse. Prithvi Pajasyam. Pajam is the hoof of the horse. Prithvi is the earth. The hoof of the horse should be seen as the earth. Dishaha Parshve. Dishaha, the directions. Parshve, the side of the horse. Avantara Dishaha. Parshavaha, the ribs, Parshavaha of the horse. Avantara Dishaha are the secondary directions, the intermediate directions. So Dishaha is the primary direction, the four primary directions, and Avantara Dishaha are the intermediate directions, northeast, northwest, such so on. Ritavo Angani, the limbs of the horse are the Ritavaha, the seasons. Masascha, Ardhamasascha Parvani. So Parvani are the joints of the limbs. They are the Masam, the months, and Ardha Masam, the half months, which means fortnights, right? And Aho Ratrani Pratishtha. So Ahaha Ratraha Pratishtha. Ahaha is day, Ratri is night, Pratishtha is legs. So the legs are the days and the night. Nakshatrani Asthini. Asthi is the bones, Nakshatrani is stars. The bones of the horse are to be taken as the Nakshatram, the stars. Nabho Mamsan. So here Mamsam means muscles. Okay, so the muscles of the horse are taken as Nabaha, the space. And Uvdhyam. So it's not Urdhvam, okay, it's Uvdhyam. Uvdhyam means the food which has been partaken of by the horse, but not yet digested. So Uvdhyam is the Sikataha, the sands on the beaches. Guda. Guda is the nadis or the nerves. Or Sindavaha, the rivers. So the nerves of the horse are the rivers. And Yakritcha Klomanascha. So the muscles on the sides of the heart, which means the protruding muscles that you see on the side of the heart, are Parvataha, the mountains. Lomania, the hairs. Okay, so Lomani, the hairs, are Oshadayascha, Vanaspatayascha. The hairs are Oshadam, the herbs, and Vanaspati, the trees. And Purvardho, the front part of the body, is Udyan, the rising sun. And Jagan Ardho, the hind part, the back part of the body, is Nimlochan, the setting sun. So all very beautifully visualized. When you meditate, you have to visualize this. And yet, Vibranjate, the stretching of the horse's body, Tat Vidyotate. So when the horse stretches, that's supposed to be the lightning. So stretching is the literal meaning, but Shankara adds, you can take it as yawning also. Okay. Then yet, Vidhu Nute. Vidhu Nute is the shaking of the body. So that when the horse shakes its body, there's a slight sound, right? So that sound, Tat Sthanayati, it is to be taken as thunder. And Yen Maheti, when the horse passes urine, Tad Varshati, it is to be visualized as the rain. And Vage Vasya Vakaha, when the horse neighs, the sound of the horse neighing is to be taken as the speech of Virat. Okay, now if you look at the Bhasyam, for those who are interested, Shankara takes each of these descriptions and gives justification why the comparison with the part is correct. He gives the logic. Okay, it's very, very extensive Bhashyam. We are not going to take that. It will take too long. So those who are interested can look up the Bhashyam in one of the texts. So you will find that each of these comparisons is taken and Shankara gives the logic why it is taken. Right? Okay. Remember that in the Puranas also, we have similar upasana where the body of the Lord is taken for the upasana. Okay. Before we go to the next mantra, any question? This is basically upasana, right? So you have to be able to visualize when you do the upasana. Okay. Now let us look at the next mantra. Aharva Ashvam
Aharva Ashvam
Purasta Mahiman Vajayata
Purastan Mahiman Vajayata
Mahiman Vajayata
Tasya Purve Samudre Yoni
Tasya
Purve Samudre Yoni
Ratrirenam Paschan Mahima
Ratrirenam Pashchan Mahiman
Anvajayata
Anva
Anvajayata
Tasya Pare Samudre Yoniraha
Tasya Pare
Tasya Samudre
Samudriyoniraha
Etau Va Ashvam Mahimana
Etauva Ashvam
Ashvam
Mahimana Vavita
Mahimanavavitaha
Sambhuvatuhu
Sambhavatu
Sambhavatu
Ayo Bhutva
Ayo
Hayobhutva
Devana Vahatvaji
Devanavahataji
Devanavahataji
Gandharvana Arvasuran Ashvo
Gandharvanas
Gandharvan Arvasurashvo
Ashvo
Manusyan Samudra Evasya
Manusyan
Manusyan Samudra
Samadhyasya
Evasya
Bandhu Samudro Yoni.
Bandhu
Bandhu
Samudro Yonihi.
So, during the traditional Ashwamedha Yagnya, so what is the Ashwamedha Yagnya? In very short, somebody can tell what exactly is Ashwamedha Yagnya.
a king performing a
Karmakanda
for
done by
expansion of
king.
his kingdom leaves a horse which goes across the territories, and if there is no other king who's stopping it, then it comes to his
Okay,
territory.
that's right. So it's a yajna in which the king uses a horse and the horse is let free, and wherever the horse goes, that territory belongs to the king. So in front of the horse, in the yajna, in front of the horse, a golden cup is kept, and that cup is called Mahima. So that is the meaning to be given in this mantra. Mahima is not just fame, but the golden cup kept in front of the horse. And behind the horse, there is another cup kept, but that is made of silver. Okay, so those two ideas remember, and that's what he says here. Aharva Ashwam Purastat Mahima Anvajayataha. The Purastat Mahima, the golden cup in front of the horse, Tasya Purve Samudre, and the Ahaha, the day, born from the Purve Samudre, born from the Eastern Ocean. So the sun which rises from the Eastern Ocean. Yoni Ratri Renam Paschan Mahiman Vajayata. The night is the silver cup, Mahima, Paschan Mahima, at the back of the horse. And Tasya Pare Samudre Yonir Aitau. The source of the night is the Tasya Apare Samudre. Apare Samudre is the other one, the Western Sea. Why is it called the Yonihi, the source? Why is the Yoni called the source of the night? The source is anything into which something dissolves, right? So the source of that night is the Apare Samudra, the Western Sea, because that is where the Yoni, that is where the night resolves. So up to here, remember the Upasana part. This is the manner in which the Upasana is to be done. Visualization, exactly. And now the rest of it is Stuti, the praise. Pa Mahimano, these two cups. Ashwam Abhitaha Sambhabhuvatuhu appear on both sides of the horse. And Hayo Bhutva Devan Vahadvaji Gandharvan Arvasuransh Ashvo Manushya Samudraha Evasya Bandhu. This horse is the vehicle of the Devas, Asuras, Gandharvas, and Manushas. A simple meaning, right? This horse is the vehicle of used by the Devas, Asuras, Gandharvas, and Manushas. And Bandhuhu here means you have to take it as a Sthiti Karana. And Samudraha can be taken as the Utpatti and Laya Karana. So all three are mentioned. Bandhuhu, Samudraha, the Sthiti Karanam, and Utpatti Karanam. Samudro Yonihi. The horse is born from the sea alone. So here you have to remember everything that you are taught to understand these words. Uchchai Shavasaha. What is that? Heard this word before? Uchchai Shavasaha. Where did we hear?
Yes, we have heard it.
Where? None of you are in Gita chanting classes, that means, right? Uchchai Shravasa Ashwanam. Where?
10th chapter.
What does it mean? That horse born from the sea, Samudra Yoni, right? And there is secondary meaning also. Therefore, just like the horse is born from the sea, the Virat horse is born out of Ishvara. So, yes, the secondary meaning is that Ashwa, if you take as Virat, the Samudra you don't take as the source, or the creator, which is Ishvara, Antaryami, right? And Shankara gives derivation here. He says, Bhutani Samupatya Dravanti Asmin iti Samudraha. That from which all jivas are born and into which all jivas will resolve. That is called the Samudraha. And conversely, you can apply it to ocean also because all rivers are born from the ocean and all rivers resolve into the ocean. Okay. Now, if you see here, this is the stuti, right? Ashwastuti. But Ashwa Upasana Phalastuti is not given here in this mantra. And therefore, Shankara gives a very astute observation. He says, since the Phalashruti is not given, since the Phalam is not mentioned, this Upasana cannot be an independent Upasana itself. No, but we just said in the beginning, right, that this Upasana is going to be taken as independent Upasana. So Shankara says here that don't take it as completely independent. He is not saying that it should be combined with the karma. It's not a karmanga upasana, but it should be combined with the next upasana. So this upasana has to be combined with the next upasana, which is what? Which is Agni upasana. And this Agni is that Agni of the Ashwamedha Yajna. Right? On that Agni, which is lit for the starting of the Ashwamedha Yajna, Virat Ishvara is to be visualized. So in the first mantra of the next session, you will find that there is a Agni Stuti, right? And this is similar to, when you have a chief guest and you are the, person who is doing all the introductions. You first introduce the chief guest and you have to speak very nicely about him, right? Praise him and all that. So this is same way Shruti is talking about Shrishti over here. So at Ithi Pratama Adhyayasya Pratama Brahmanam. Well, this is the first Brahmanam of the first Adhyaya is over. Okay, now we come to Ditiya Brahmanam, Agni Brahmanam. Now this second Agni Brahmanam opens with a very, very serious Bhasyam. Okay. So this again, Bhasyam is very, 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 very famous. And I would request you to listen very carefully.
बांसुरी
So
का
this,
फोन कर ले हाँ बांसुरी का फोन कर ले
can you please mute yourself if you're talking? Okay, so this is called Ghata Bhasyam, right? The first mantra of the second Brahmanam. Before that, Shankara writes a Ghata Bhasyam. Now, this mantra begins with Naiveha Kinchanagnaha Kinchanagraha Asit. Right? Naiveha Kinchanagraha Asit. Very similar to the Chandogya mantra where they said that before Srishti, only Sat was there. But here he is saying in the beginning, before Srishti, Agre Kinchana Na Asit. There was nothing before Srishti. Right? So when you say there was, in Chandogya we said, in the beginning, Agre Sadasit. There was Sat only. But here the mantra begins by saying, there is nothing. There was nothing. Right? And that word nothing, Kinchana Agre Na Asit. Right? Nothing was there. So that word nothing can be misunderstood or misinterpreted as Asatvada, Shunyavada. Because of this, Shankara thinks it is necessary to explain. And he writes a very, very detailed, exhaustive bhashyam on this particular line only, to discuss the origin of various things. And for this purpose, he takes Ghata, a pot, as an example. And in this discussion, the word Ghata is there many, many times. And that is why the bhashyam is called Ghata Bhashyam, a pot discussion. Right? Remember, the pot is not the essence. The pot is the example of any existing or non-existing vastu. And therefore, he is taking the pot. And Shankara divides all darshanas, all the philosophical schools into two. So he says one is Karana Asatvadi. Karana Asatvadi. They say that before creation, before Srishti, there is no Karanam at all. Nothing exists before creation. And the main proponent of this view is the Yogachara Buddhist, which we also call the Shanika Vijnanam, Shanikavadis, Shanivignanis. So there is Karana Asatvadis, like the Yogacara Buddhists. And there is the Karya Asatvadis. So what does the first one say? There is no Karanam, there is no cause before creation. What is Karya Asatvadis? They say there is no Karyam before Shashti. There is no product before Shashti. Two views. Those who maintain that before creation, there is no cause at all. And those who maintain that before creation, there is no product at all. There is no karyam at all. So in case, you have to follow this discussion very, very closely. It's going to heat up your heads. So in case any problem is there, please immediately ask. Because the flow is such that you miss one critical point. At the end of it, not only you will be confused, I will be confused with your questions. So let us be very clear. Now there are 2 points to be discussed. Before the pot came into existence, did the clay exist or not? Okay. So remember that when you say pot, you are talking about karyam product. And when you say clay, you are talking about karanam, the cause. So before creation of pot, did the clay exist or not? That is the first thing. If you say, yes, clay existed, then the second question is there. Whether the pot existed in the clay or not before creation. Okay, so it's a carefully understand. First question, before the pot came into existence, did clay exist or did clay not exist? And supposing you say, yes, clay existed, then you have to ask, in that existing clay, before the pot was created, did the pot exist or not? Okay. Now, for discussing this point, Shankara picks up Yogacara Buddhism, Shanika Vijnana. What the Yogacara Buddhist says, what the Shanika Vijnani says, is that there is nothing called the external world. Everything exists in the mind only. So for this Yogacara Buddhist, any object in the world is nothing but a thought in the mind. Right? Any object in the world is nothing but a thought in your mind. And therefore, when you say that there is a pot, you understand what we are saying? That when you say this is a pot, the Yogacara Buddhist will say that there is no real object called a pot. What is there? What is there in your mind? The thought
Only a vritti.
of a pot. The Ghata vritti, thought of a pot is there. And that is why this philosophy is called Shanikavada or Yogacara Buddhist Vada, because nothing exists, Shunyavada, right? Nothing is there. Shunyam. Okay. So if you say there's a tree, he will say there is no object called the tree. There is only a tree thought. Give me 1 second, please. I'll be just back. Sorry, a small little disturbance. Okay. So he says there is no object at all in the external world. There's no external world at all. Everything that you say you see is nothing but a thought in your mind. So just as, a similar thing, just as there is no external world in your dream, everything that you see in the dream is what? Nothing but your own mind. A dream tiger is what? A tiger vritti in the mind. A dream elephant is what? A dream elephant vritti in the mind. Therefore, all the perceptions are in your mind alone. In fact, when the mind resolves, nothing is there. Therefore, you got a series of cognitions. And this darsana says that these cognitions never remain constant. They change constantly. And since they change constantly, each cognition, each thought has got only momentary existence. Right? Exactly like a movie hall. If you analyze a movie hall and you make it go into slow motion, you will find that the reel is constantly moving. Nothing is stationary. Right? Everything is actually individual. Like if you actually look at it, you look at the reel and slow it down completely, what will you see? One hand is like that, next moment is like that, next moment is like that. What gives you the feeling of motion is the continuous moving of the reel. The reel is moving and it's moving fast. And therefore you think that there is continuity. But actually, each frame of the movie, of the reel, is stationary only, right? Because the moment you feel the continuity. And therefore, this momentary uh, thing is called shanika. And the awareness, the cognition of the momentary non-motion is called vijnana. And therefore, this philosophy is called shanika vijnana. Everything in the universe is momentary and is cognized. Which means what? You, the observer, are also shanika, momentary. Whatever you see is also momentary, shanika. And the observation is also shanika. So, observer is shanikam, observation is shanikam, and the observed is also shanika. In fact, this darshana says that even Atma is also shanika. And therefore, in this particular philosophy, there is no question of any continuity at all. Everything is momentary. So they don't accept the clay as the karanam. What is the reason?
Because there is no karyam at all.
No. There is a karanam in moment one. There is a karyam in moment two. So there is a clay in the first moment and there is a pot in the next moment. But they don't accept the clay is the karanam for the pot. You have to understand why. Because for a karana karya sambandha, continuity has to be accepted, right? And their basic theory is that everything is shanika. There is no continuity between moment one and moment two. Because moment one, the observer is shanikam, the observed is shanikam, is one observer, observer A. Moment two, there is another observer, observer B, observing the product B. So the one who observes the clay is observer A. The one who observes the pot is observer B. There is no connection between observer A and observer B or between the clay and the pot in the absence of a cause effect, cause product relationship. You cannot say that there is a karana karya sambandha. So they say that there is no connection between the pot and the clay. Right? So you have a clay cognition and your pot cognition. Clay comes and goes, pot comes and goes. So there is no question of any cause producing the effect. You have a series of cognitions, that is all. I hope you got this idea. Because they are all thoughts. First you have a clay thought and then you have a pot thought. Okay. The clay thought has no connection with the pot thought. And therefore there is no question of a relationship between the clay and the pot. Okay. Now
Just
Shankara, yeah,
can
go
I
ahead.
can I ask one question here?
Yeah.
If according to this theory, there is no relationship between the pot and the clay, then uh, but the fact remains that clay remains. Clay is real existence, isn't it?
No, it's a boy, it's thought in your mind. I
But
told you
then what we
there is no object. The whole Darshana says that everything is only thought in your mind. There is no external clay, there is no external pot.
okay.
Okay, that's the theory. That is the Buddhist Yogacara theory. So now Shankara says that this is not correct. He says that you have got the knowledge that the clay alone appears as the pot, which means what? You have got the cognition that that piece of clay, which was there yesterday, is now appearing as the pot today, right? And this recognition is called what? Pratigya. Pratibhigya. Yeah, Pratyabhigya. It's called. Pratyabhigya means recognizing in English. So in any recognition, Shankara says, what are you doing? You are connecting something in the past to something in the present. Very important idea, right? If you have seen a dog yesterday barking in the street and you say today, this is that dog, what are you doing? You are connecting the past experience with the present experience, the past present linking connection. That is called pratibhigya, right? That is this. Pratibhigya is always in the form of so I am, saha I am. That is this. Remember that when you see an object for the first time, you have seen, let us say, of an absolutely new car, new brand. You have not seen it before. So there is no previous thought in the past which you can connect it to. So that is just perception, pratyaksha. But tomorrow, if you see the same car, you will connect it to the car you saw today. And that is why it's called recognition. Even the English word is the same. First time is cognition. The second time is recognition. Right? So this pratibhigya, he says, Shankara says, is proof of continuity. Because you find that in the past, a particular karanam was there. It is continuing in the present today as the product. So the clay which you saw yesterday, you are recognizing that same clay as the pot today, right? The wood which you saw yesterday in the carpenter shop, you are seeing today as the furniture, right? The vegetable which you saw in the morning is now the sabji, the curry. So the past present connection is called pratyabhigya, where the past, the karanam, continues in the present as the karyam. So karanam karye anuvartate iti pratyabhigya. That karanam, which is now pervading in the karyam, that cognition is called pratyabhigya. So this is what Shankara says. He says, when you say there's a clay and a pot, it's actually recognition. You cannot say they are two different cognitions. One is a cognition, second is recognition. So the Buddhist does not accept this. He says, no, you are not seeing any continuity at all. What is his argument? He says the word continuity you use to justify yourself. But really speaking, there is only a similarity. There is no continuity. So this may, like for us, this will sound very illogical. But remember, this is the argument of the Yogacara Buddhists. He says the clay which you saw yesterday is not continuing in this pot. What? Then you say, no, 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 but this pot is nothing but that clay. So he says, I agree that the pot is nothing but clay, but I don't agree with your statement. The pot is nothing but that clay. That clay is gone. This pot is some other clay. Okay. A very specious argument. That is the argument. And he says, you are mistaking it as that same clay because of the similarity of that clay and this clay. He says, clays are the same. That is what you say. I say they are only similar. You have mistakenly taken today's clay in the pot as yesterday's clay, which is not true. It is similar. And because of similarity, you have made a mistake. Are you following, guys?
Acharya,
Otherwise, yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but clay pot we understand, wood chair. But the first example we gave of cognition and recognition was the dog seen yesterday was the dog seen today, or the car seen yesterday was the car seen. So there is no cause and effect in this.
Not at all.
Hmm.
This will say that the dog seen yesterday was similar to the dog seen today. It is not the same
Ah,
dog because
right.
there is no question of continuity.
Correct.
Perhaps,
Yes. Now,
it can also be seen in the context of a flowing river, that we see Ganges sitting on the banks of the river.
Yeah,
But
that's
then,
the argument we use. Yes. But the water is never the same, right?
yeah,
So
you can never step into.
you can never step into the same water.
Hmm.
So that argument is there. Now Shankara comes and says that this argument is also no good. If you talk about similarity between yesterday's clay and today's clay, what do you require? This is the crucial question that he asks. When you talk about similarity between yesterday's clay and today's clay, what is the main assumption that you are making? You have to use your head.
That consciousness was present at that time. The same consciousness present at that time is
Yeah.
now.
Let's not take it to consciousness. You require an
You know,
observer who was present yesterday and who is present today. The one who says that this clay is similar to yesterday's clay, he had to be present today and yesterday. You agree?
yes.
Shankara
Yes.
says you are defeating your own argument because you are saying this was similar to yesterday, which means who was there today was there yesterday. And if somebody was there today and that somebody was there yesterday, was there continuity or not? Right? And therefore, since the observer himself has to be present in both the days, you as a Shanika Vijnani can never talk about similarity between the past clay and the present clay because you do not accept what that yesterday's observer and today's observer are the same. When you say that both are, when you something is the similar, you have to accept that there is a continuity of an observer. But since you say that yesterday's observer was different from today's observer, how can you say that this is the same, a different clay? You cannot say it's a different clay, right? Do you follow?
Yes, fine point, which has to be
So
accepted that
therefore,
there is no continuity.
Shankara establishes that clay as a karanam existed in the past before the pot, which is the karyam today. Okay. I think this is enough for today. We will stop here. I would request you to go through this once again. And wherever such extensive bhashyams take place, I will go a bit slower so that our digestion is easier.
Does it mean that because the observer for yesterday is the same observer for today only, and therefore this Karan Karya relationship is established because the observer is the same?
Observer is the same. So what actually is doing is refuting the Buddhist view that it is a different, similar clay. Because to say that you are similar, you have to have same observer both days. But the Buddhist cannot say that continue with the Shanikavadi. Na? His thing is that there is everything is momentary. And if you are saying that yesterday's observer was different and today's observer is different, then you cannot take a stand that the clay is similar because there was no observer to make that statement.
Okay. Okay, got it. Yeah.
That is the argument. And therefore, Shankara says, because of that, you have to accept that clay as a karanam existed yesterday before the pot which came today.
So, in other words, the argument on the part of Shankaracharya, I mean, whoever is interpreting this, is that the observer is constant, and therefore he can link the Karya Karanam.
That is only for the purpose of negating this particular idea.
Argument.
But
Yeah,
what he is saying that the karanam exists before the karya.
right.
You cannot have a asat karanavada. You cannot say that because when a person says, when the Buddhist says that the clay is only similar, what is he saying? That there was no karanam in the past. There was no clay existing in the past. So here, by negating that, Shankara is saying that that is not true. The clay which existed today as the pot was there yesterday as the clay. So he is negating the asat karyavada, which means asat karanavada. That there is no karanam in the past. That is being negated.
Acharya,
Very fine discussions. We have to be very careful.
may I just ask?
Yeah.
This reasoning also applies to the observer.
We are not talking about observer at all. Let's not confuse. As it is, the Bhasyam is confusing enough, right? let us focus just on the pot and the clay.
Okay.
Okay, then only it will make sense. If you deviate, you will find the whole thing blows up in our faces.
Okay.
We are not through the Bhasyam. Okay,
Yeah.
touching the beginning of it. So with this, we'll stop for today. And thank you for the patience. You have been very patient. That was this session. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much.